Hey guys, it's Angelo, and as we're getting closer and closer to the release of World of Warcraft's newest expansion, today we're having another look at the Shadow Priest's current state in battle for Azeroth. As discussed in our previous first look at the upcoming Shadow Priest changes, there is a lot that has changed for the spec, some things certainly positive and others certainly negative. If you're completely unfamiliar with Shadow Priests in Battle for Azeroth, I highly recommend watching my previous video about Shadow Priests in BFA first. The link should pop up on your screen momentarily. Now in this video, we will be going over how the spec actually plays in practice, how it feels, what it can and can't do currently, and what should definitely be looked at for future changes to the playstyle. Before we get into it, just really quick, if you haven't joined my Discord server yet, be sure to do so, as this will be your easiest and fastest route of communication with me for any specific questions you may have, or for any questions that I have not answered in the comment section. Discord will also be the place where I announce special events or giveaways, and of course stream times, which will start pretty soon. And now, without any further ado, let's go right ahead and have a look. First off, let's talk about how the Shadow Priest plays itself in Battle for Azeroth. Many things have definitely changed here, but the most noticeable is the shuffle and shift of your talents, combined with the artifact weapon being gone. No void tentacles spawning around you anymore, no orb of insanity, no dozens of auspicious spirits flying through the area. The Shadow Priest has definitely been simplified. Getting into Void form while using the new Legacy of the Void, which allows for a Void form at 60 Insanity with a reduced Void Eruption cast time, actually feels very fluent, but definitely requires a little getting used to, as you reach 60 Insanity relatively fast. The drawback of this new playstyle, however, is noticeable when playing with either Surrender to Madness or Dark Ascension, our newest level 100 talent. Where Dark Ascension effectively allows you to be in Void form back-to-back every 1 minute, it definitely takes a long time getting to 100 Insanity without using Dark Ascension. This wouldn't be that bad were we to get long, rewarding Void forms, but unfortunately we don't. As you can see from the footage on screen, our Void forms are now much more limited than they used to be, with our stacks pending between 15 and 25 stacks, depending on how many enemies we fight. At least with current gear, reaching higher Void forms definitely proves to be very difficult, and this has a lot to do with Blizzard's global cooldown changes. A good example here is that the Blood Elf racial ability, Arcane Torrent, actually shares a global cooldown with the rest of your abilities, and so do most of your other spells. Once being in Void form, your options and choices on how to proceed are very limited, as Void Torrent must be specced as a talent, and speccing Void Torrent in return means that you cannot spec into Mindbender, as both are on the same talent row. Now to top something off that is already pretty restricting, Lingering Insanity is also on the same talent tier, meaning you can never have all three together. In fact, you can only ever use one. This makes staying in Void form for at least a long time very hard, and the way we'd be able to do it in Legion is literally impossible. As you can see on screen now, our talents restrict many of our gameplay choices in all different talent tiers. Just the Fate, for example, shares a tier with Misery, while Auspicious Spirits shares a talent tier with both Shadow Crash and Shadow Word Death. Now, even though I don't agree with these hard restrictions and changes, in practice they play out logical and feasible. In fact, many things are a lot simpler now than they've been in Legion. One good example here is your Void Eruption. Void Eruption will now automatically hit any enemy within 10 yards from your target, no matter if you have applied a dot to them or not. This can make for some very easy AoE damage without any preparation or ramp up at all. And on top of this, Mindseer is back, and this too does not require any dots on a target to deal AoE damage. Speaking of dots, your dots have far less importance now than they had in Legion. They still deal a lot of damage, but Mind Blast and Mind Flay, your single target spells, and even Mind Sear in an AoE situation will deal a lot more damage, making them far more important. This makes it more forgiving if you can't maintain your dots on too many targets, and in fact only makes dotting targets truly viable for up to 3 targets. Anything more than that, 4 is possibly still a viable option, but again, anything more than that can literally not be dotted up, or will actually result in a DPS decrease. As mentioned before, Twist of Fate is now in the same talent row as Misery and Dark Void, which is one of our new talents, and especially in AoE heavy situations, this makes Twist of Fate struggle for its dominant spot in the talent tier. In general, it's very clear that Twist of Fate has been nerfed, as the 10% damage increase is not nearly as clear and defining as the 20% damage increase it has in Legion. Now, how does this new, slower-paced playstyle feel overall? Well, I have to be as objective as possible here, and overall it feels a lot less engaging and intuitive than it did in Legion. The low void form stacks during most void forms, the limitations on decision making, and the new mix-up of talents definitely let the Shadow Priest feel more like the old Warlords of Draenor Arcane Mage than the Legion Shadow Priest we grew used to. Again, this isn't really a bad thing though. Yes, the spec feels very different from Legion, and mostly not in a good way, but its damage capabilities have certainly been streamlined, or rather streamlined, and made a lot more accessible. It's literally pretty easy now to do a lot of AoE damage, and it is definitely easy to do a lot of single target damage on top of that. The spec is actually still pretty versatile, and I do believe that we will be able to compete with other classes just as we were able to in Legion. There are other specs that have a lot more trouble in the current state of Battle for Azeroth than the Shadow Priest does, and believe me, nothing in Battle for Azeroth will seem new or unfamiliar to you if you had played Shadow Priests in Legion. Yes, there's some cool new things like Dark Ascension, and yes, many things have been moved to talents or have just fallen away completely, but you can definitely tell this is the simplified version of the same haste-heavy Shadow Priest as in Legion. With the spec lax in haste and fast-paced gameplay currently, it currently makes up for in strong damage numbers and easy and accessible damage. I personally don't foresee any major changes to the spec before the launch of BFA, but possibly in the first content patch. Were I to change anything, it would definitely be the pacing of the playstyle. Our level 90 talent row in and of itself already restricts so many gameplay options, and perhaps making Void Torrent a simple baseline for all Shadow Priests should be the path Blizzard takes, at least in my opinion. The Shadow Priest, perhaps more than any other spec in Legion, besides of course the 2 Demon Hunter specs, had literally evolved around the use of our artifact weapon, and relocating Void Torrent into a talent while removing the other artifact traits definitely feels a little as if I'm playing with my hands tied. Other than this, I have no issue with the current state of the Shadow Priest, and I think, and hope, we will have a good start into WoW's next expansion with many of our old stigmas removed. I'm definitely excited to see how Battle for Azeroth plays out, and of course I'm not going anywhere and will be staying right here with this new Shadow Priest. Let me know what you guys think. Have you had any experiences with Shadow Priests in Battle for Azeroth already? Do you enjoy the playstyle, or do you not like it at all? I'd be interested in hearing what you guys have to say and what you guys think. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, and if you'd like to see more of my content in the future, feel free to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and as always my friends, I will see you all in the next one.